and pasting the link to the agenda in the chat. Welcome everybody. This is the Velero community meeting for February 7th, 2023. Let me share the agenda here. Okay. So I guess we'll start with status updates. I'm first on the list. So I've been working over the last week on the implementation part of the backup controller work for the asynchronous backup item action plugin functionality. This is probably the biggest single piece of work from all this, from the new feature, because it involves updating the backup plugin to actually check the item operations status appropriately, and then we actually need a whole new plugin that will monitor those in the background while next backups are running. Hope to have a draft PR out later this week. The only thing that'll be missing at that point is a draft PR is I won't be tested yet. I'm then going to modify my PR for the Velero plugin example to actually have a sample plugin that actually waits and produces an action so that we can test that secondary controller in a real plugin scenario. So the draft PR will have all the functionality for that. It just won't have been tested yet other than unit tests. And then I'll flip that over to ready to merge review later. Although it'll be great to get reviews even as a draft, because basically the implementation should be done, barring bugs that I'll probably find. But any other issues people can start bringing up would be great at that point. And I will ping people in Slack when I have that PR out. Anshul?
Yeah, so this PR I had raised a couple of weeks back. We discussed this briefly in the previous community hours in this time zone. So I finalized this proposal and I got a review from Jiang or Black Piglet alias. So I don't think he joins this particular community hours, but like I'm just trying to get a sense of what his comment is. If you folks had any maintenance discussion around this, maybe you can open it and go to the last comment.
Yeah, I don't know if we had any comments. I mean, I know Shubham and I don't think we've talked about this. Let's see, Shubham, are you on now?
I don't think so.
Okay, but we'll have a look at this. Shubham may have some feedback here as well, because he's done a lot more work with CSI plugin than I have. Okay. Just looking at the.
No, you can just go to the second last comment that he made. I'm just trying to get a sense of that. If you folks just above the one I put. So he's saying that they prefer not to change CRDs. I didn't really get this comment fully. I put some questions like, in case you have any context on this, maybe like we can discuss, or I can wait for him to reply.
Oh, I see. Yeah. He mentioned that the Velero. I think that was the VMware people that must have had a discussion in the office there, because yeah. I do know that we are, I mean, there will be Velero CRD changes in 111. So I'm not sure how much of a change this is versus, because I know, for example, the async plugin work that I'm doing already has some CRD changes associated with it.
Exactly. Yeah, that was my big concern. Right? Like, if anyways, it's a major version and it's very commonplace, and
right.
We have
I don't have any direct
okay.
insight on that particular discussion. I think that would be worth bringing up. I mean, actually, I would say if you want a more immediate response, you might ping people on Slack, just because the Beijing people are not generally attending this meeting, just because it's late for them. But again, I don't think I've ever seen a major release like that, 110, 111 that didn't have CRD changes. It's I know in the like 111.1.2.3 on the Z streams we try to minimize. I prefer not to have any, but sometimes there have been minor ones. But that's an area where I know we do want to minimize CRD changes. I don't know that that's really a concern for 111, because again, we definitely have CRD changes relating to some of the other features that we're already putting in place.
Correct. So that was my whole concern. I can just figure on. I'll
Now,
wait for his response.
yeah,
I'll
there
let
is
you know.
one key I think that we do keep in mind anytime there is a CRD changes. We want to make sure that backups that were done with an older version still work and to restore in a
Yeah,
newer version. So there's an area where if you're adding a field, to make sure that you can still restore something that's doesn't have that field, those kinds of things. And like I said, like us with the plugins, if possible,
yeah.
obviously if there's a feature that breaks backwards incompatibility, we need to document that thoroughly and all that. For the most part, the
Yeah.
assumption here is that nothing we're doing is breaking backwards compatibility.
Yeah, I understand that. I've captured in the document the updated proposal. I've concluded all the backward compact scenarios as well. What are the fallbacks and all? So, I mean,
Yeah.
existing
Okay.
behavior
Great.
should not change at all for anyone.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah,
I
would
would just
request you
ask
to also review.
explicitly about
Yeah,
that on Slack, just
sure,
because
sure.
again, I think there may be some miscommunication here. There may be a different idea of how much of a CRD change we're talking about.
Yeah,
Because again, I think the fact that the CRDs change at all is not, to me at least, an issue. I can't speak for the other maintainers, but obviously, if there are major changes that might be destabilizing, that might be a concern for some people, and so we can have that discussion. But
sure.
I'm pretty sure we aren't going to say that there are no CRD changes in 111, because I know
Yeah,
I've made some myself even in some of this work I'm
yeah,
doing on the async plugin side.
yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you. And meanwhile, please see if you get a chance to review this. I have like the final. We discussed three approaches last time. Now I have the final cut there. So maybe if you get a chance, you can review it and we can kind of take this forward, assuming that CRD issue is resolved. Is that fair?
Just another point about if you're talking about the resource filters, you kind of gave an example with CRD changes. I think that's actually one where the resource filters, where the design is getting done, but I don't believe the implementation of that is actually going to make it in 111. We wanted to get the design done before 111, but I don't think the actual implementation of that resource filtering is going to make it into 111. But again, as I said, there are other things where in fact, we already have made CRD changes that have been merged, as far as I know. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a discussion we need to kind of have with the people that were involved earlier that had made that comment, because I really don't have any insight on the discussion that led to that particular comment.
I understand that part. I'm just meanwhile asking if you get a chance to review, like at face value, the PR with this.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can look at that, and I can ping Shubham later to see if you can look at that as well.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for my side.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Ivan, you had a
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, just a very quick item there. Just like following like a conversation I had with you, Scott. Like I think I'm gonna put together um design proposal to extend like the new include exclude resource filters to just work with field support selectors. So I just saw like that getting the other like resource filters design got approved this morning, so I'll open a separate PR for it. I guess again the idea, the rest of us on the call, is just to allow like resource filtering at a more granular level where users can supply like things like resource name and resource name spaces to filter down like resource to be included or and excluded during backup and restore. So the idea with field selectors is just to try to find a way to get it to be to work consistently with the already built-in Kubernetes field selectors mechanism, as some of us may be familiar with when using kubectl. So yeah, I'll hopefully get a PR together sometime this week for the design proposal. So that's me.
Yeah. And one other comment relating to that, the include exclude resource filters design PR that we've been reviewing for the last few weeks. I think that will be merged soon. I know we had the meeting last week where I think we pretty much resolved that all of the issues with that particular PR we kind of agreed on. I approved that this morning, so I expect probably tomorrow it'll get the second approval and merged. So your PR that'll be basically, as I understand, kind of building on top of that and kind of integrating in with that, the thing that you're basing it on will be merged probably by tomorrow. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. And then Wes.
Yeah, I think there's been some updates to that pull request for a deprecation policy. I just don't want it to linger too long, because if we don't have one, then we're just going to have some really old code in Velero
Yeah.
for too long.
Yeah. I think I think the target for that needs to be, you know, we want this agreed upon and merged by the time 111 comes out. I don't think we're going to be deprecating anything in 111, but if the policy is in place when 111 comes out, then if we choose to deprecate something in 112, whether it's Restic or whether it's, you know, something else, then, you know, we can, you know, we have a policy that says, okay, if we deprecate it in 112, that means here's when it goes away. And right now we don't have that. So I think we ran into something earlier in the week, even where, you know, something was deprecated several releases ago and it's still there because we didn't have a policy in place. So it was never removed.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree that we definitely need to get that. I'll look at it again this week, and hopefully we can get the rest of the team. Again, I don't expect any action on that before 111, but I agree with you. I think it needs to be merged and basically agreed upon as this is our policy by the time 111 is released. So that way we have the freedom to deprecate something in 112, knowing what that means.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Scott.
Yep. And do we have any discussion topics? I mean, I guess other than what we already discussed here.
Just quick question, just to see, is anyone planning to go to KubeCon that's on the call?
I will be there.
For me, it's to be decided. I still have to like confirm with my manager about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to go though.
Yeah, and I was talking, as Orland couldn't meet it, I was talking to him. As far as I know, he's planning on going, but things aren't totally finalized yet.
Yeah. I see Pradeep joined.
Yeah, so I'm also kind of not sure this point of time. We have another event in the same month, which is a VMware event in local regions. So I'm supporting that as well. So it's conflict. Earlier I had planned to go, but kind of it's now getting discussed.
Yeah. Well, you know, for those of you that are able to come, it'd be great to you know meet up at some point and kind of meet some people in person that we've been working with on these calls over the months. So that'll be great.
Yeah. Pradeep, I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, but I know there's been some discussion about development for the rest of the year, outside of this upcoming release, potentially around multi-tenancy. That I was just wondering if you wanted to.
Yeah, I had kind of a discussion with Jeff Bart on that also. So what we kind of, in my personal opinion, in a way, like there is a lot of cluster management solutions which sits on top of Velero, like advanced cluster management. The VMware has something, and they have also multi-tenancy implemented. So if we implement at lower level and at that level, there may be a lot of design conflicts. So as a kind of pure Velero system, if we make it more generic and then have a multi-cluster solutions management to do much more robust multi-tenancy, that's the one model which in the short term, until we have a very good design in place that which doesn't break the model of existing multi-tenancy coming from the other cluster management. And Jeff was kind of mostly also aligned to that. So yeah, there is no harm in discussing and all, but I don't want to kind of make sure it's kind of developing same thing, multiple layers, and then breaking each other, because that's the problem.
Sure.
We should be creating it.
I wonder if there are designs or any changes that we need to think about from an upstream perspective to better enable that second layer to hook in for multi-tenancy.
Yeah. Now we can discuss. Only thing you have to consider the multiple solutions using it, not
Yeah.
only the kind of one. So that will be a harder problem. Like Veritas is using, Dell Power Product is using. So everybody has something on that. So how we make a generic which makes all the layers, and that would be much bigger decision. So needs much more kind of a lens and also. And we have kind of few things in hand which we have to kind of finish before even we should touch those, like data mover. We should see even the NFS support was kind of Jeff was saying it's high priority from his book. So we can look at few things which we close on that, and then probably touch if once we have a good understanding of all different solutions and that part.
Okay. So is it your suspicion that from an upstream perspective, multi-tenancy is not something that will hit until much later this year, perhaps even
Yeah.
next year?
Yeah, that's my kind of very high level gut feeling. But unless we kind of do magic and then finish all kind of incoming thing and then do that, then that's a different thing. But I want to kind of make sure what we start, we kind of at least have a good logical conclusion. It's running from last few kind of quarters. And some more things we can do enterprise, like some of the encryption aspect,
Yeah.
some of those improving the scale and performance, and how we can kind of make it much more on incremental side, backup and restore. So those are the also few critical things which is missing. And secondly, like when we adding a support for multiple these plugins and providers, so we have not looked at them for a long time. What do the enhancement come to those platforms, or shall we look at something in the plugins to kind of make them up to date and then work? So it will be collective effort. So if those kind of things also can be
Yeah.
taken care, and NFS support was also one of the big items which was coming up in the multiple discussions,
Yeah.
both the sides. So we should look at some areas, and multi-tenancy is getting handled in our higher level. Lower level, we can see if we can do more lightweight, providing the Kubernetes RBAC based rather than doing too much our own custom CRDs.
Sure. Pradeep, do you think it'd be possible, at the highest level, not giving
Mhm.
away any details of things, but could we open up a HackMD where things can be discussed at
Mhm.
kind of like the PM feature level and priorities, and just like getting thoughts out of our head and on into a HackMD just for more visibility?
We can do that, as well as I'm open to open a GitHub issue and then discuss more openly, even kind of everybody, because all more kind of views will come, but I'm open any other channel if it makes it efficient. But one thing I'm sure that we can put more better roadmap outside as a items. I don't want to kind of give a feel like this is all driven through one or two kind of idea forum. So that's the reason I like a GitHub approach. But we can have some future ideas, just like things, and then we can put big ticket items, small ticket items, like
Yeah.
what enhancement we have to do in the current features, what we offer, what the next big feature we should think about it.
Mhm.
So we can have two these lists, and then people can keep adding, and then from there we can still create a GitHub issue and then discuss on those fronts. So that's the kind of, so there is a wiki roadmap page. Let me see if with Orlin we can make it more of a one generic wiki for roadmap where we say idea collection. So like you add your
Yeah.
enhancement request on existing thing, no need to open a GitHub issue, just add here, and then as we little bit more thought process, we can create a GitHub issue and then start discussing. So that's no harm in doing that, but let's do in somewhere which is all available in GitHub to all people to see and then contribute to.
I wonder if a discussion in the wiki we could link to a discussion, ongoing discussion.
You have to kind of put an item, and then under that you have to put a GitHub link where you're discussing it. So you don't have to kind of in the wiki just put a kind of a heading, say if you want to do that, there are one or two line, and then you say as we have kind of more, then create a GitHub issue and then discuss that. And then so you can go one page where you can say what the current feature enhancement we're talking, what is that new feature, big ticket
Yeah.
item we're talking, and then that's a single source. And but you still have the GitHub for each and every item to discuss
Sure.
more diverse things and all. I'm okay with anything, but this makes more kind of generic sense. And then anything efficiently, like I'm meeting some of the people monthly and all to see that if anything we can collaborate more, which is the
Yeah.
common need. So it will be kind of, rather than doing two things in parallel in isolation, if we can join hands on some of the common themes, I think we'll
Yeah.
achieve much faster turnaround. That's the way I am looking things. And when I discussed multi-tenancy with the Jeff, he was kind of convinced at high level, okay, this is not very urgent. There are few urgent things we should move on.
Okay. I think totally agree with everything you said. I think it would be helpful to have something outside of a specified release of where the possible paths that
Yeah.
we'd like to take the project. Is that something that you're going to do in GitHub, or do you want me to open up a wiki section
Let
for
me
that?
talk to, let's talk to Orlin what he prefers.
Okay,
End of the day, Orlin should have oversight on that as well, whether it's
sure.
GitHub or Wiki or HackMD. So
Yeah.
he would need oversight. So we can just see where he's comfortable maintaining the information.
Okay,
I'm
that
good
sounds
with
good.
that, either of them. So yeah,
That sounds perfect. All right, thank you, Pradeep.
thank you.
Okay, any other discussion topics? Yeah, I guess that's a no. So we're going to go ahead and end a bit early since we've already gone through all the agenda items. So have a great week. And next week, I think tonight there is a meeting scheduled for those interested in the data mover discussion. It's at the same time. I gotta clarify. Wes, do you remember offhand whether that was today? I know we talked about it was going to be today or tomorrow. I think that is scheduled for tonight at 7 Eastern. Let me just look for a second to make sure I'm
Yeah, I don't know offhand.
saying the right thing. And this is a dedicated meeting to discuss the Velero built-in data movement. Yes, 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So basically the same time that the Beijing meeting normally happens. And that's to discuss the Velero data mover upstream. Otherwise, the regular meeting next week, normal time, again, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Beijing time on Wednesday. So have a great week, and let's get back to it. Bye.
All right, thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.